Hi, Pat.
Hey, Adam.
For those of you listening and or watching, Pat and I both are freelance video producers, video makers, videographers. I don't know what the hell we want to call ourselves. We make freelance videos. And a lot of times we will email each other and complain about client stuff, whether it is, a client that wants a refund or they want to use, rates from several years ago, or they're just being a dum-dum.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes. When they're being dum-dums.
The one that set it off for this idea, I believe, was a client who was referred to me. Saw some work that I did for a company about 4 or 5 years ago and asked me to quote them a price. And that price was much lower because my prices rise when I buy equipment, when I'm getting better at stuff, when I'm putting more work into it.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I like to have a much more polished version of a video now than I did 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Like I see the videos that I did 5 years ago and I think, wow, like this is wrong. I can do this better. I can spend a little bit more time color correcting, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. You're almost like, who the hell did this video?
Yeah. and people don't really realize how much work does go into like post-production. So this client that got my information was asking about a video that I did on real estate up in Chicago, and I quoted them a price that was twice as high as the video that they saw.
Sure.
I didn't realize that they had talked to the client about what that client paid for it, and they wrote back and said that I was ripping them off and I was quoting too high. And I wasn't.
Yeah.
This is just my new prices. This is how much work I'm going to be putting into it. This is how much I'm going to be doing for you guys. Just because my prices went up from 5 years ago doesn't mean that I'm being a jerk to you.
Yeah.
It just means this is the quality of what you're paying for right now. Yeah. But anyway, I ended up doing the first shoot, which ended up being like 2 more after that because of the amount of stuff we needed to do and how much more we needed to prepare for it. And it just got me I just went a little bit crazy because,
Yeah. So how did, which again, I think one of the things that I want to touch on is that this is a really, I don't want to say common, but it happens on occasion in our industry, is that when you have a client approach you and they say, hey, so-and-so referred me to you, that's great. We want that as freelancers.
Absolutely.
You want that word of mouth as your, kind of the main way that you get hired. The problem is that those clients, and I think, you and I both know this, is that those clients are usually friends with someone else, and they would say, hey, I got a video done by this person. They charged me $500, or they charged me $1,500 or $2,000. And then that client comes to you with a predetermined notion of what you are going to cost them. And again, they want the same video, but like there's no way that you can make the same video you did 5 years ago. And you shouldn't. You should make, if it's a similar video, great, but you should be making a brand new video that's like way better. Yeah. And it is worth whatever your rates have increased. And it's very unfortunate. So how did you end up, so you said you had a couple of reshoots with them or a couple of shoots with them.
Yes. So like I'm a pushover when it comes to these things. So I will do them at prices, especially for new clients, just to get them on board. I just don't like how it started out with this specific client, because sometimes you can tell right away, through initial emails or phone calls, that there's going to be some annoyances.
Sure. Yeah.
And I was getting red flags from talking to them.
Yeah.
But I also like to give one shot a chance, just to see, I had some red flags, but they didn't show up, and it was actually a fun shoot, or easy shoot that I, got done in a good amount of time, and it was at least worth my while.
Yeah. I have a client that every single time we talk, it's just red flags. Mm-hmm. And I have done several videos for them, and it drives me nuts. Yeah. But like without giving them a chance, I wouldn't have had that opportunity. So I think that's a really good, smart way of handling,
right,
approaching that situation initially, at least.
Yeah.
So anyway, there was red flags. You started.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just obviously all the red flags that showed themselves in the first contact was it's still going on. I was telling you that I just got done with like the third shoot with this same company
this week, right?
This week,
yeah.
And I think we started this like I was going back and forth with them about like 3 months ago. So it's been a while, and I'm still under $1,000 being paid to me with all this headache. Like, it's just why do I do this to myself? But,
which it's tough not to. I mean,
it is.
It's either. I mean, you're always like, well, it's $1,000.
Yeah.
That I don't have or I didn't have.
One of the funny things that they wanted me to do on this last shoot was they wanted a time lapse from a nearby billboard that was facing the city of Chicago.
Sure.
And they wanted a sunrise. And I was like, oh, okay, so you guys own this billboard. Let me know when I can climb up it and all that. And they were like, oh, no, we don't own the billboard. You should just be able to go and like go up there though. And I was like, I don't know. That's definitely not the case. Do you have contact information for the people like that will let us up there? And they're like, okay, well, we went back and forth a little bit. And then like 2 days later, they're like, okay, somebody is going to be on site. And you can ask them when you do this next shoot. So I went in, and one of the women took me out back and was like, yeah, here's the billboard. And we noticed that there was like I'd say a 15-foot gap in between the stairs and that.
Oh,
like,
yeah. So,
like where you can get it.
Yeah.
So you have to have somebody let you into it.
Yeah.
She's like, but I don't know. I've never been up there, and I don't know who controls those things. So I went back to the client, and I was like, I don't think we're going to be doing the time lapse
from this location.
From this location, at least. Yeah. But it became like a point of contact that we went back at least 15 emails, like just wasting time on something that is just so stupid that obviously, if it's not your property, like I'm not going to go up there with expensive camera equipment
and get arrested.
Yeah, pretty much. So that's just one of many things with this client that I had to deal with. So,
Pat, thinking about this client and like what you know now and all of the like pain in the butt stuff that you have had to deal with, how do you maybe wish you would have handled this?
I think I wish I would have just taken my own like instincts into account and been like, no, I'm not going to do this unless it's this price. And if you don't want to pay that, then I don't have to deal with these headaches. Like, and that's fine. I would have probably paid the amount that they paid me to not have to think about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
yeah. You would have paid $1,000.
Yeah, to
not
just not have to deal with this
Shit,
client.
yeah.
And that's why my prices are what they are, because how much is it worth?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
To me. So.
And it's a big struggle. I think that every freelancer deals with when you're, starting out and you're trying to figure out like what to charge to run your business, and you're like, oh, that's great. And when you're young and you're like, oh yeah, I can do this whole wedding day shoot and edit for $500, which like that's not bad money at all.
Oh no, but especially for starting out. Yeah,
but then you get into it and you have to deal with, higher level clients potentially. You have to deal with, all this other stuff, and you realize that there's like almost like I don't want to call it this because I don't think of clients in this way, especially for those that are listening and might hear this, but there's almost like a pain in the ass tax.
Sure.
Where that you've got it built into your pricing, where it's like, it's almost there to just deter all of the low level, like bottom feeder people that want stuff for dirt cheap. And like, man, I get it. I want stuff for as cheap as I can get it. I'm
sure.
I will say stingy to a fault in some ways,
but like even with equipment or pretty much anything in life.
Yeah.
You're going to get what you pay for.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I've bought, $150 wireless microphone sets that I got 5 uses out of before, like, I heard static every time I turned it on.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And now I've got, like, some nice $800 a pair ones, and they've been good for 15 years. Which one's actually more expensive,
Oh, yeah.
It's probably the one I paid less money for, so.
Yeah. Because, if you look at that, you would have had to have bought, you're buying a set a month, essentially, in that case, for your whole career. And, I totally get it. I bought I still think I'm crazy. I bought like a $1,500, $1,800 Miller tripod when I first started out.
Your tripod is awesome.
And I've still got it, and it weighs as much as my Prius.
Yeah.
And
I took the other path. I've gone through like 6 $200 tripods that I like for a good year, and then they start doing weird shit.
Yeah. So. Oh, this tripod has still got, knock on wood, it's still got like another 15 years in it. It's dinged up, but it's great. It's still rock solid.
Oh, yeah.
But and the freelance stuff that we do is, obviously, like to your point, the exact same way where you get what you pay for.
Right.
You can't go around charging people $10,000 for a project if you're not really worth that in a sense. But it's so tough to figure out. And like, I think it's a lesson that we all learn.
You can't stay afloat at $150 a project either.
No.
So these people that want $150 a project are, they might have like a good, what am I trying to say here? Like a reason that their budget's so low. I get it that some things don't have budgets, and you want to help people out, especially for, good
small
ideas
local
and small
companies
stuff like that. But just know that if we did that for everyone, this position wouldn't exist. We'd have to get like an actual job that we would be doing stuff on our, it's just, I get it. I understand that the amount of money that people have, it varies on every project and every thing that we do, but just like, you can't be super nice to people all the time.
No. And
you can't accept those.
It's really hard to face that too, because I know you and I are both nice people. I think most people would agree, especially our moms.
They do think we're nice.
but by the end of a shoot or by the end of a project, if you're spending, let's take one of the clients that it's your client, you and I have worked for. We worked for them in Indiana. I don't know if we should mention clients by name in this, even though they're really good.
Laurie would care.
So they make bowling equipment.
Turbo.
And turbo bowling. And they're a client of Pat's. I will come in and help film every once in a while. But you spend like 3 days with these people, 12-hour days filming. And by the end of one shoot, you're like great friends with them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you repeat this over 4 years, you've got this like really good friendship with a client. And that is a recipe for getting, I don't want to say taken advantage of, but getting the short end of the stick or, and you and I are the same way in that, I've seen us both out on shoots where, you get a good rapport with the client and then you're like, oh, I like you as a person.
Right.
So I guess I'll just suck it up and eat, gravel for dinner for the next month because I didn't make enough money on this job. And it's tough. It's really, really hard to. And I think you have to learn that lesson as a freelancer. Yeah. And I don't know, it's a lesson that like, I don't know, comes back up constantly in our worlds, I think. There's not, I recently put a bid in for a project and I underbid myself because I want that client. I want that client long term.
But underbidding will also lead to that's what you're going to get paid for.
That's my rate for forever, which is rough. And
which is why I like this one client that I overbid for. They said yes, and now I know anytime that they want a video, I'm like, oh, okay, this is like double my normal price. Yeah. This is great.
Yeah, you just need like 3 of those clients.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess it makes up for it in the end. It all evens out, but it's just how many of those low end clients that you want to take on, and how many that you can to kind of get your product out there. Yeah. Because like we said before, 90% of our business comes from word of mouth. So if you do a video for a low end client, it will likely be seen by somebody who might generate a little bit more of a revenue flow. So.
Yeah. And and the hope is too, with these, I'm doing air quotes, lower end clients, maybe clients that are just starting out, if they're younger perhaps, or, and when we started out, a lot of our friends from college were like in the marketing departments for places. So we would take low bids. Like, our first client from, I will bleep it out if I need to, like Hub International was like,
are they still a company?
I don't think so. Know. But but Pat and I had this client and our friend was in the marketing department. She has now moved up to like a bigger company in a better position. Mm-hmm. And because we tried to do such a good job for them and we did suck it up and take way less than what we wanted to for that first project, they're someone that, I know you've worked for them before, or, in previous instances. So the hope is that these clients will call you back as they also move up in their careers and have more money to spend. The big problem is when that client only ever has $150 for a marketing budget for 50 years. and then you have to go work at like Lady Foot Locker or you know, wherever you got to go work at. This episode sponsored by
women's shoes. Yeah. Women's shoes. Steve Madden. Steve Madden.
It's a good time to mention our sponsor for this episode, Lady Foot Locker. For just kidding.
Those shoes look great.
I think I'm gonna get sued for this. But yeah, I haven't had a client. You know, I low bid myself all the time.
Yeah.
I did have a really quick instance of I sent a project request in, or like kind of a price quote for a project, and then like a year and a half later, the client was like, "Hey, yeah, we're ready to move forward on this," and I was like,
"Ooh,
okay." And I had raised my rates once since then, and I totally forgot that this was the case. I did the project for them. I sent them a bill, and they were like, "Hey, why is this like $15 more an hour than what you quoted us?" And I was like, "Oh, well, like my prices have gone up. It was whatever it was, 18 months ago or 2 years ago at that point." So I had to basically, you know, take back and just, you know, I still made money on the project, and they're still a client of mine, but it was another learning experience to like, you know, you just need to be upfront with what it'll cost. And if you do change your rates, let your clients know upfront, you know, as soon as it happens.
Well, absolutely. Honesty is the best policy when dealing with business. But clients also make mistakes all the time. I had one that was like 2 weeks ago where we were having a phone conversation about what they wanted. I told them my prices. I told them what my half-day price was, my full-day price, my hourly for editing, and then shipped it off. They said, "Okay, this is great. Like, we accept." Did the shoot for them, sent the invoice out, and they called me and they're like, I don't understand why you charged us this. I was like, well, I detailed it on the phone. What's your problem? And they're like, well, you charge us for half day and then this amount of editing hours. But I thought that you said that it would be like a one-time price of this amount. And I was like, I've never said that. No. Like I've never ever in my life given like a flat rate out. And they're like, no, we definitely discussed that on the phone. And this is where I always cave. I'm like, okay, well, I definitely didn't say that. But if you guys really think that this is what you should pay, then pay me that, and then we'll just move on. But this is my future pricing. This is what and they ended up being nice, and they paid me what I had invoiced.
Yeah.
But I was just like, when did it get crossed? When did my words not come out correctly? That I told them, I thought it was pretty black and white, like $450 for a half day.
Yeah.
Is what it will cost. And they were just confused. And I have no idea where their confusion came from. So
yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's a tough area to do too. When you're, you know, you talk with their point person, and then that point person talks to multiple people in their department, and like it's like playing telephone, you know, and things kind of get messed up. It happens. I mean, it sucks, but you're just like, oh, whatever.
That would have been a big rant if I ended up doing that whole project. They paid
you,
and then they only paid me like the lower amount, just because that. But because they ended up being like, okay, it was a misunderstanding.
Yeah,
that was nice of them. So shout out to that company. That I won't say.
Yeah, that's what I say. I'll try to like keep from name blasting anyone here.
Right.
Pat, I think we are. I don't want to say we're running out of time because I mean, man, we got the rest of the day.
Man,
but
time.
Let's say that we are bringing this episode to a close.
Sure. Yeah, we've already rambled enough. So.
Anything else you want to add about clients using rates from several years ago or how to handle it?
I did think that your wedding, we've both had people who have asked for wedding edits like 4 years later.
Oh, yeah.
Which I thought was funny. I don't know if we want to talk about that, but that's happened to you and it's happened to me.
Yes.
And it's like, I don't even know, like, I'm going to have to go into like my storage box to find your footage.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to have to try to find the Premiere project that I used.
and hope that Premiere Pro 2020 is going to open it.
Just so I can get your like the person who married your brother who is now like your ex stepsister like out of your video. I'm like, I can't do that. Like, I'm sorry. So
I do want to talk about that. Let's save that for...
Okay, we'll do that another time.
Maybe we'll save that for episode 2 or 3. How about that?
Okay.
In the meantime, if you have a freelance-related question or a free Lance related rant that you would like to share with us, please do so wherever you're listening to or watching this, or you can email me at don't email me at email me at droidmedia@gmail.com. Until then, Pat, thanks for chatting. Thanks for ranting, my man.
Cool, man.
And I'll see you next time.
All right.
Okay, bye. Okay.